The world of sports, you know, a lot of stuff happens in that world during the day, and then we sit down and try to figure out how we're going to present what happened in that world in the paper the next day. Think of your first job as something that's going to help you get your next job. I'm not ashamed to say I made $21,000 a year my first year working in Pocatello. I do really enjoy what I do now. If you're working in sports journalism, I think covering a team and being on the beat is probably about as much fun as you can have in the newsroom. My thought process every day was, what's my story gonna have tomorrow that they don't have? I had this cockamamie lead I was going back and forth with, and he couldn't figure out what I was trying to say. And finally he just stopped me and said, "What's your point? What are you trying to say?" And I told him, and he said, "Why don't you just write that? Start the story where you would if you were going out to the bar with your friends after the game, and somebody said, 'How was the game?' Whatever the first thing you'd say to that person is, that's where your story starts." First rodeo event I ever covered, I showed up dressed pretty much like I am now, except for I wasn't wearing a tie, and I looked like the most ridiculous person at the rodeo. They were all looking at me like I had just come down from Mars or something. Well, this guy's on the ground, the two clowns come out, and they're trying to escort the bull out, and the bull does a 180 U-turn and starts going after the guy who's on the ground. I'm watching the bull come right for this guy. The bull gets its horn underneath him, lifts him up, the guy does like a somersault in the air and lands flat on his back on the ground. And my only thought was, oh my God, this guy's dead. When I found him, he was hunched over a bench, he was on his knees, and he was like leaning up over a bench. So I started walking over to him, and he saw me coming, saw my notebook, and he's, "Hey, how's it going? Hey, yeah, come on over." I didn't know what to ask this guy, so I just said to him, "What was that like?" And he just looked at me and he said, "Son, have you ever taken a 2,000-pound suppository?" Sometimes the conversation may go in a totally different direction, than you anticipated. It's just the total polar opposite of a desk job. Probably more opportunities now, job-wise, in some ways than there was even when I was coming out of college. Just write as much as you can for anybody you can. Anywhere you can get published, just get yourself published. Because the hardest part about getting your first job is, everybody says, "What experience do you have?" Well, you have none because you're in college. But nobody in this business comes out of school and walks into a $60,000 a year job. The easiest way to network, really, I think, is you'd be surprised how many people in this business. There's a lot of collegiality. A lot of times you surprise yourself. You write something one day and you think it was the greatest thing you ever wrote, and then you look at it again the next morning and you can't believe you thought it was the greatest thing. I don't know if doing anything else you get sort of the adrenaline rush that you get. I knew that it was something everybody was going to be talking about the next day. In a lot of ways, it's still something everybody's talking about today. And it's really, really fun to be at the center of that discussion, to know that there's something going on and everybody's talking about it.